Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Oneg Shabbat program. Today is a special day in the Jewish calendar. It is Rosh Chodesh Adar. It is the first of the month of Adar, the first of the month of Purim, as we will celebrate soon the holiday of Purim here in Gurwin, although differently than usual, as everything has seems to have been for the past number of months. But we're getting closer and closer to that day when things get back to normal, as I used to feel very special that I got a vaccine before any of my friends, any of my peers, any of my family, because I work here in Gurwin, and obviously we had the opportunity to get the vaccine early at the first chance in the end of December, beginning of January. But now all my friends, everyone I speak to, are all getting vaccines, which makes me feel not so special anymore. But the better news is that more people are getting vaccinated, and the more people that get vaccinated, the sooner we'll all be able to get back to our regular lives. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Ashoreis, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Mahalchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Ashoreis, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Ashoreis, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech Malchei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So speaking about Adar, obviously one of the highlights of the Jewish calendar is the holiday of Purim, the celebration of Purim. And what makes Purim so special and so unique is many, many different things. We'll speak about some of them this week, speak about some of them next week as well. See, in the times of Purim, the Jews were in tremendous despair. There was an evil decree by the evil Haman, who decided that his hatred for the Jewish people grew to a certain level that he wanted to go ahead and destroy the entire Jewish nation. And he went to King Achashverosh, the Persian king, and he asked for permission to destroy them. And Achashverosh agreed, giving over his ring, his signet ring, as a seal, to stamp on the new decree. Whenever the king would stamp something on the decree, that pretty much said it was set in stone. It became a law. So imagine, not just sometimes in the world we live in, we hear about terrible things, terrible anti-Semitism, or other terrible racial activities where people, they speak hatred against others, and sometimes they even act with hatred. But certainly you wouldn't imagine what would be if there was a law, a specific law in the country we lived in to kill a specific group of people. Anybody, doesn't matter who you are, a law It's outrageous, outlandish to think there could be a law to kill a whole section of society. Even in the times of the Holocaust, it wasn't a law. It was just something that the Germans had done at the time. But to make a law is very, very extreme. But that's what it was. The law was that on the upcoming holiday of month of Adar, which later became the holiday of Purim, of the salvation, but it wasn't a holiday at the time, on the 14th of Adar, there's going to be a law which says that anyone from all households could go and fight and attack to eradicate the Jewish people from any country anywhere in the world. And when the Jewish people heard about this, you can imagine that they figured it was over. There was complete despair. And they went and they prayed to Hashem, to our God, and they looked into their deeds, and they figured ways they can make themselves act better and do acts of kindness to others. But then it was quite interesting. It wasn't a salvation that was miraculous in the sense where we saw the miracle. It wasn't as the Exodus of Egypt when we saw the splitting of the sea, or other great wars where we could clearly see the hand of God. This was a secret miracle. A number of events happened in the palace that Hashem orchestrated secretly, that basically pulled the finger around and pulled the rug under Haman's plan, and Haman was killed and Haman was destroyed, and anyone who fought the Jews that day were ultimately killed. And the story is so interesting because, again, certainly we're looking back, you could see how miraculous it was, but at the time going through it, it didn't seem so miraculous. It seemed everyone was going about their lives. There's a terrible decree, and suddenly the decree was overturned. Only later on, when we realized, a year later, when Queen Esther realized that God had put her in that place in the palace for this specific reason, only then do we truly recognize a miracle. And the lesson is so important, especially in the days we're living in, that God is always here with us, and He's performing miracles day in and day out. Every single day there's hundreds, thousands of miracles, even more than thousands of miracles that God does for all mankind in the world, yet we don't see them. But just because we don't see them, it doesn't mean those miracles aren't there. And this is the main concept, the main force behind the holiday of Purim, which is why, as we all know, one of the customs of Purim is children, they dress up. They dress up as my children dress up as this year. Butterflies are dressing up, doctors, police officers, firemen, whatever they choose, bears, animals, gorillas, they've dressed up like them all. Why do we dress up? Because dressing up shows that we're hidden as well. The same way we believe God is here behind the mask, so too we hide behind the mask as well, but we trust that God is with us the entire time. Chadodi likras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela. Chadodi likras kala pnei Shabbos nekabela. Shamoy v'zachar b'dibor echad. Ishmiyahanu kel hamyuchar Hashem echad u'shmo echad. Shemo seferes v'lesila lechadodi likras kala. Pnei Shabbos nekabela likra Shabbos choven elcha ki mekar habiracha meirosh mikedem nesucha sov maaseh machshavot chila lecha dodi likra skala Pnei Shabbos nekabela hisnari meyafar kumi Lev shivik de sevar zechami al yar ben yishai beis halachmi karva el nafshigi ala lecha dodi likras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela yamin usmo tifrosi Yes Hashem naharizi al yar ben yishai beis halachmi Karva el nafshigi yahala lecha dodi likras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela V'oi b'shalom anteres b'ala Gamerino v'tzala Tochem unei am segula V'oi kala lecha dodi likras kala Pnei Shabbos nekabela. Another theme in the holiday of Purim is the mitzvah, the commandment to give presents to friends. Not just presents like a birthday present, but food presents specifically. And the question is, why did food presents come to be such an important part of the holiday? Mishloach, manot, giving gift baskets to friends with food, candy, apples, cake, grape juice, wine, whatever it may be. We give to our friends, we give to our neighbors, for only one reason alone, to create unity amongst all of us. Because as we all know, whenever we're going through a difficult time, God only really truly answers our prayers when we're united as one. If we're not united, we're different factions, different groups, then our prayers, our tefillos, are just not as potent. Imagine you have an individual person going asking to the king, asking a favor from the king. He asks by himself. The king says no. Someone else asks by themselves, no. Even if there's 20 people who ask, but they ask as an individual, it's very easy for the king to say no to each one individually. After all, they don't necessarily know that more people came in, and the king only sees one at a time. When a group of 20 people, 30, 50 people come to the king and ask for something, it's much harder for the king to say no, and not just because it's hard for him, he appreciates the fact that they're united on this as well. That too is part of the miracle of Purim. The reason why God answered our prayers was the Jewish people were completely united as one. So, along with the idea that God is hidden and God answers our prayers, He really only answers our prayers when they're one, when they're united. That's why it's so important, especially during these times, to be friends with others, be nice to others, be united as one, because when we're ultimately united, then God answers our prayers. Adon olam asher malach v'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ez nasa v'chevsa kol azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kechlos hakol levahada yimlach nara v'haya v'holveh v'yiyeh b'sifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni L'hamshila l'hachvira v'li reishis v'li sachlis v'lo ha'oz v'ham nisra v'hu keli v'chai go'ali v'tzor chavli v'yeis nasa v'hu nisi umanosli v'nas kosi v'yom ekra v'yahado avkid ruchi V'yeis ishan v'yahira v'yemruchi gev'yasi ado shem li v'lo ira. Everyone should have a happy and healthy Shabbat, a great weekend, a good month, and we'll see everybody next week.